My name is Sheila Guillotone, and this is the Simsbury Woman. Today we're talking about stress. We all know that stress is your body's way of responding to any kind of demand or threat. Everyone is subject to the toll stress takes on all of us. It's the basis for any number of medical or psychological conditions, which experts estimate can be as high as 90%. What many of us may not have considered is that children, even young children, suffer from stress-related problems. My guest today is Mimi Stevens, a multi-talented woman who has devoted herself to stress relief and teaching and coaching others to help themselves by employing simple, learned techniques that can alleviate pain, both physical and emotional. We will discuss these techniques, but we'll also discuss a wonderful children's book that Mimi has written as a simple guide for parents, teachers, and children to help on those days when nothing seems to be going right. Welcome, Mimi.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
It's
great
nice
to be
to
here.
have you.
Thank you.
Before we start on the actual story, could you give our viewers just a little background about yourself and how you came to be into this particular position?
Sure. Well, you know, when I was a child, I came from a broken home, and it was one of the first, like, for parents to get divorced back then was unusual, and so I learned firsthand how much pain can be involved in being a child in a family where you're not being listened to, not being, your feelings don't matter, and you have no skills or tools to learn to help yourself. And so that became, at the age of 15, it became my mission. I saw myself, my goal was, I want to do a love class someday in high schools. So anyway, throughout the years, ever since the age of 20, when I was able to actually go and do some of the things that I needed to do to turn myself into a person who had some emotional intelligence, I started doing a breath work process called rebirthing that some people have heard about.
I've heard about it. I'm not sure I understand it, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically a breathing technique that helps to open up your ability to breathe to reduce stress. Because when we're little and we are having feelings that nobody wants us to have, what we do in order to stop ourselves from having those feelings so that we can be approved of by those very important people in our lives, we shallow or restrict our breathing in order to stop the feelings from coming on.
Really?
Yeah, because you can't not cry if you keep breathing fully. That's what crying is.
Oh.
Crying is a big breathing exercise designed to eliminate pain and stress or express pain, right? So that's how we stop ourselves from having our feelings. So what I've been doing for the last 16 years is helping people to restore access to their feelings and learn how to process those feelings so that they can live authentically and happily and not let that stress of stuffing feelings build up. And so the breathing and the EFT tapping that's in the book are two skills that I love to teach people as adults and as children.
Okay, why are feelings that important?
Feelings are extremely important because they are what makes us unique. They are what, and they are what make us human, right? You know, I remember on Star Trek we used to marvel about Spock and Data, the non-humans. Of course. And I used to kind of feel sorry for them that they didn't have feelings. And yet in society we tend to shun our feelings and each other's feelings, mostly because we don't know how to process them. And feelings are very important because, well, as you know, when you have, let's say, sadness or even joy, oftentimes we get this, you know, we get the emotional reaction, and usually that comes along with breathing. Okay. Well, if we stuff our feelings, we have to stuff our breathing, and our breathing is our connection to life. It's our most basic need for life. So it's very important, physically and emotionally.
Okay. I think I told you my daughter is a therapist and works with very damaged children. She told me this morning, actually, when I told her we were doing the show today, she said, "Oh, I have one kid who came into my program, they get assigned to different therapists, and she said, I have one who does the tapping and really likes it. So we're going to talk about Maven in a minute,
Okay, yeah.
but let's talk about the tapping, because
yeah.
that's definitely what the Maven book is about.
Right, right. The Maven book is about the magic buttons, and the first magic button is the belly button for belly button breathing, and then the rest of the magic buttons are acupuncture or acupressure points that correspond to the meridians in our that move all through our system, and Chinese medicine is based on this.
Okay.
And what we can do is we can stimulate the flow of energy through our system, which includes breathing. And we can calm the fear center of the brain by tapping on these particular points on our body.
Okay.
That
So we're
actually-
talking about, you know, the real brain, and
Right.
So there is a scientific basis
There's a
for
lot
this.
of yes. There's a lot of many scientific studies done. In fact, on my website there's 2 pages, one all about breathing, one all about EFT, and there's lists of links that you can go to.
Okay.
But to nutshell it,
Yeah.
both conscious belly breathing and EFT, what they do is they calm the amygdala, which is a little gland in the brain.
This little thing right there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's part of the autonomic nervous system, and it's the fear center. So when we are feeling afraid, this little gland is getting activated.
Okay.
And unfortunately, many of us are often, and some are always, on that hypervigilant state of survival mode.
Really?
Yeah, we call that fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And many of us are on a low level of fight or flight a lot.
Really?
But people who have anxiety disorders and panic disorders and even heart problems are also often on a higher level of fight or flight.
Really?
They're not totally freaking out unless they're having a panic attack, but they are. That's what chronic stress is all about. We're all like, the nervous system is out of balance. So we're getting ready to fight or run.
Yeah.
Instead of letting our bodies relax and digest the food and, regenerate, and the immune system kicks in. So when this little amygdala is fired up, or even just not relaxed, then we are under stress.
Okay.
And there's a whole cascade of things that happen physiologically, but the bottom line is we can calm ourselves down by breathing from the belly and taking a nice sigh of relief, and or by tapping on what I call our magic buttons.
Okay, so let's talk about the tapping, because that was one of the things I wanted to stress, and then we'll talk about Maven, because she's adorable.
Thank you.
What does EFT stand for?
EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Okay, and if my daughter is correct, these are mindfulness techniques? Is that what the psychologists call them?
Well, it actually, I don't know if psychologists have tied the two together yet, but I know EFT tapping is a very quick way to bring yourself to a state of mindfulness.
Okay.
Which is that calm, relaxed state where your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's the self-monitoring, the higher functioning, the human aspect of the brain, that part of the brain can be really kicks in and really takes over. With your brilliance can take over, let's say, when you're calm, when the amygdala is not sucking up your energy, right? And so yes, this helps. Tapping and breathing helps us to calm ourselves down so that we can think more clearly, learn more easily. We have more access to our emotions in a way that we can deal with. And it's really the way we all want to be at all times. We all want to be in that brilliant state. It's the fear part of the brain that takes us out of it.
Okay. This is totally out of the blue, but it suddenly occurred to me, is this sort of like, because people talk about male, female too, and boys are never supposed to cry, whereas girls are kind of allowed to, sort of.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to get angry.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Right? In general, there's a social mores that says,
there's a balance.
Girls better not get angry. but boys better not cry.
Okay, but it's the
Exactly.
same basic thing, and the techniques for relaxing that would be the same.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So even though I'm actually a big fan of letting children cry and not reacting to them as if we have to make it all better, because that puts pressure on them, we can't always go around crying, right?
Yeah.
Especially in school, right? And we're not going to change everybody's mind. But these, but these are ways to help them learn how to self-regulate so that they don't have to cry necessarily in order to process the emotions so that they don't get stored up in their energy system and stored up in the brain where the amygdala is just always on alert and always ready to go off the handle.
Okay.
So they can regulate their own behavior, they can regulate their own feelings, they can even, shift their awareness about what's really going on around them so that they're in a more calm and adjusted kind of state.
Okay.
Which we all want our kids to be in. I think,
I
to some
guess.
extent.
I want to talk about Maven and the Magic
Okay.
Buttons,
Okay.
which is the little book that you have written, which is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
It is so cute, and the illustrations are beautifully done by
Lee Lanier.
Lee Lanier.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Give us I know you did a program over at Storyteller's Cottage
Right.
with little kids,
Yeah,
yes?
yeah.
And you introduced Maven to them. So
Right,
could you
right.
give our viewers just the Reader's Digest synopsis of
Sure,
Maven? 'Cause
sure.
she's really important.
Thank you. So Maven's a 10-year-old girl, and she gets up on the wrong side of the bed one morning because her little brother had to sleep with her the night before. He had a bellyache.
Okay.
And he couldn't get to sleep any other way. And so she is nervous about a math exam she has that day, and she gets up on the wrong side of the bed, and the whole day just takes off on one of those downward spirals. We've all had them.
Oh, yes.
You bonk your head. She
Yes.
bonks her head. She gets made fun of. She's feeling angry, and all this whole big ball of wax of feelings that she doesn't know what to do with, and she just wants to cry, but she knows that's not really okay, and that's not really going to help. So
Okay.
she gets sent to Glenda, the good nurse, when she gets to school,
Okay.
who teaches about her magic buttons.
Okay.
Which is the breathing and the tapping. And so
Okay.
they tap through these feelings together, and then Maven feels much better, which is normal. That when you do this, you feel much better and much more equipped to go and handle her math test. And
Okay.
so she goes and she's ready to ace that math test.
Okay.
And so and throughout the process, the children who are reading the book are being read to.
Okay.
They learn how to use their own magic buttons.
Oh, okay.
And they
so
can-
I want to open to the page of the Magic Buttons just so we
Okay.
can kind of go through
Yeah.
which ones they
Yeah,
are.
yeah. So these are so the first one is your karate chop point, and this is where we do a lot. We say something like, even though I have this belly ache, because by then she had a belly ache.
Okay.
But we say, even though I have this uncomfortable feeling, and whatever it is, we name it, I like myself deeply and completely, or I really like myself,
And
or
you're
something
tapping
really
the whole
positive.
time.
Yeah, you're tapping on this point, which is a very important point,
Okay.
and it helps to set up the rest of the points for success.
Okay.
But we're saying, I really like myself, or I love myself, I accept myself, something really positive
Okay.
afterwards. So even though I have this problem, I really like myself.
Okay.
And then we go through the tapping points, and we just say, this problem, I have this problem, I don't like how my belly feels, or I don't like what's going on, I don't like the yelling that's happening in the family, whatever's going on.
Okay.
And it helps them to calm down their system, and then they get to actually see things differently.
Huh.
I want to give you a little example, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
please.
So I was doing a reading at a school in Southington, and a little girl, I won't name her, but a little girl stood up and was my volunteer. Because
Okay.
when I'm doing these, I like to have a volunteer. And
Okay. So,
we were-
how old was?
they were 7 years old.
Okay.
Okay. So this little girl stood up, and she was my volunteer. And her problem was that whenever she's trying to do her homework, her little brother bothers her. He's always trying to get her attention, and it bothers her, and she can't do her homework.
Okay.
So we tapped on that. She felt really annoyed and frustrated and angry, and so we tapped on that. And after literally a minute of tapping, I stopped and asked her, okay, now let's think about that again. How are you feeling about it now? And she said, wow, you know what? I think my brother just loves me.
Ah!
I said, really? What do you mean? She says, well, I think he's just trying to get my attention. He wants my attention. And I think what I'll do is play with him from now on before I do my homework. And then maybe he'll... And I was just floored. She had gotten clear about it. It was a positive way to look at it. And she already had her solution.
Wow.
And this is not unusual, but I just love that example because how many siblings have this kind of thing going on?
Sure.
And if we as parents and teachers and educators can help them get through that kind of thing, even that would be huge.
Yeah. Now, how is there, I mean, can kids learn this by themselves? I mean, obviously they have to be taught, but at what level can kids actually utilize this by themselves?
Well, that's a good question. And really kids that are about 6 years old and up can learn this by themselves with the book. I mean, and this isn't the only way to learn it, but this is a book that's specifically designed to teach children ages 5 or 6, depending on their maturity level, through 10 to 12. And if they can read, they can go through it themselves. But what I love it when parents or teachers, or even me, I love reading this to groups of kids, when they are read to, and then the authority figure that's reading it to them, someone older than them, when that person is also tapping on their magic buttons as they go through the story, when we do this together, then it becomes something that is part of a social bond.
Oh, okay.
And it becomes something that has, just like food often has, a very strong draw to it because we often get nourished that way. Well, this could be a new form of nourishment. The parents and
psychological nourishment.
Exactly. And really that's the most important kind of nourishment because as we know with food, right, if we get the psychological nourishment we need as children, we don't necessarily try to get it from food.
Okay.
Comfort.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the way I envision it being used as well as in the schools program.
So I know you have a program that we'll talk about in a little while, but is there a reason why you chose to go with elementary school rather than the kids that are perhaps more problematic, although it makes sense to get them younger? But anyway, you tell me.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is that when children are 0 to 7 years old, we all know, and in the psychological community, and many of us know that our operating system is being formed. What we learn or what we experience at those ages are what we learn about ourselves and the world. That's how our reality begins to form. And everything else after that starts to be built on that reality, that basis. So if we can give children at that young, tender age skills to process emotions and regulate their own behavior and performance and all this, then we will be embedding that in their subconscious, basically, so that it won't be a matter of trying to undo the problems that they've developed over the years by not having these skills. We'll be giving them the skills right away. And so I'm not opposed to working with teenagers, and I love it, teenagers and high school students and adults, but why not get them, like you just said, why not get to them with these simple, proven skills before they have a whole buildup of problems?
So technically, older children who might be in many respects more at risk, you can use it for them too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just a little bit more challenging to get kids that age to actually want to do something different because they can be so sort of, I hate to use this word, but it's the best one that's coming to mind. We tend to get addicted to our version of reality because it's just what we believe. We don't even know that it's beliefs. It's just what we know.
Right.
And so when we feel like a lot of kids, by the time they're in high school, they feel like they're not worth it. They might feel like they don't matter. On the deep level, there's a lot of self-esteem issues if they haven't been able to process their emotions throughout the years. And if nobody has listened to their emotions with an open heart and an open mind and acceptance, then they start to feel shame for those emotions.
Really?
Yeah. Shame is a very, very insidious and common feeling on a deep level. Yeah. So I would rather help them avoid that
by starting
certainly-
young, but if
right.
you can't, you actually can help.
You can really help to shift that feeling of shame and unworthiness and not good enough. You know, a lot of people have a feeling of not being good enough, and they don't know why.
Okay.
And that's,
Never had that problem, but okay.
thank God. Good. And many people don't, but a
Yeah.
lot of people do, especially in the less affluent communities, right? So
Okay.
that tends to be a demographic that's fairly common, that
Okay.
they feel not good enough.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
this can help. And then once we get
So what about adults then? Let's just follow the track all the way up.
Sure. Well, I've been working with adults for 16 years, and I love that. And it really helps adults to shift things. But what I find is that almost the older they are, the more challenging it is for them to embrace these skills when they're on their own at home. Yeah, because sometimes they don't even think of it. They come into a private session and they'll, how was your week? Oh, well, I had a horrible headache, or I had a horrible this, or, oh, did you tap? No, I didn't even think of it. Oh yeah, I guess I should have done that. Right. They don't even think of it because this is just part of their reality, and to change it
Okay.
isn't necessarily part of their reality.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I hope that helps to explain. But with adults, it's wonderful. They just need more and more support in doing it until we get past the issues of not good enough, not
Okay.
feeling good enough. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then eventually they start to feel like they are good enough, and then they start to take and use the skills more fully.
Okay. You talked a little bit about, going into schools, and are you getting any pushback from parents who, we hear all the time about a school tries something and, some of the parents don't like it, and you can't do that to my child, and I mean, this is unique. I keep thinking, I always think about the football players who are put into ballet class or some kind of dance class, and who think that's just the weirdest, most awful thing, and then they discover, oh wow, it really helps me
with
move.
football.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
get pushback from
Well, it has been a challenge, as I shared with you on
anything
the phone.
new? Obviously,
Right, right. It has been a challenge. Luckily, there has been some inroads made with the mindfulness programs,
Okay.
and this is a sort of a shortcut to mindfulness, which is great. But there is some resistance on the part of educators for fear of the parents, and even if it's just a small amount of parents who say, oh, what is this? We don't want our kids learning this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Mostly it's because they don't understand it.
Okay. So do you have to get them together first and say, I'm not trying to, I don't know, hypnotize your kids into becoming, demons or something? I don't know. Well, people do come up with the strangest
I
things
know.
you hear on TV.
I know, it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And I think it's out of fear. And yes, the school program that I've developed for elementary schools does include a segment where all the parents and siblings and grandparents are invited to an evening where their children, some of the children in the school actually help to teach
Okay.
them the skills, and there are prizes and all that for the kids who have put in their little testimonials about how it helped them.
Okay.
And the challenging part really is, how do you get to the parents before convincing the principals and teachers to embrace this as a whole school program?
Okay, now I know you want to talk about the whole school program, and I'm going to let you do that in 1 minute, but I'm going to give you one more Deirdre story.
Okay.
She said there is one school in Bradenton. It's a private boys' school, and they are, because I mentioned that you wanted to start this program bringing into schools
Right.
and looking for sponsorships to actually help you, cover the
bills.
costs, and right. And she said, oh, there's one of the schools down here that's actually doing that.
Wonderful.
So I
That's
thought I
great.
would mention that now. Would you
That's
tell
great.
us exactly what your plan is
Sure.
and what you need to fulfill that plan?
Sure, thank you. And that's wonderful about Bradenton. That's awesome. So the Whole Schools program, it's called Whole Schools Tap Into Happy. And what it entails is a 5-phase program where we roll out this to the teachers first, so that the teachers know what's going on, and we also make sure that they know how to use it for their own stress, because teachers are under a tremendous amount of stress these
Sure.
days. So if they can calm their own stress down, calm their own brains down and nervous systems, then they'll be able to be more present for the children. And then what we do is we go through, and each classroom gets a reading. We read the book to them, because children learn through stories best and they enjoy it. And then we actually have a little workshop where each child experiences tapping on an issue that they feel upset about or bothered about, let's say. And then after all of the children have learned this, then we have the teachers tap with them for just a minute before each class. When they change classes or change subjects, all right, let's just take a moment and stand up and let's just do a tapping. And then they can even just tap on things like, I am smart, I am loved, I am strong, I know how to do this. There's all kinds of positive things that we can also tap in, because it turns into a little bit of a almost a slightly hypnotic state where these truths about them can really get into their system.
Okay, so you're looking for basically sponsorship, I guess.
Yes, the plan is, because the school systems are already so strapped financially.
I know, I can't imagine. The news are asking us to buy the teachers' supplies up in Connecticut.
Right.
Go ahead.
Our plan is, corporate sponsorship would be great. We also have a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit organization, the Oxygenesis Institute, and we can also go for grants, which we're working on. But corporate sponsorships are actually a lot easier, and they actually help the corporate sponsors too. Now, we would not go to Coca-Cola or any sponsors where they're going to want us to promote things that aren't good for the children.
Sure.
But things like health insurance that that the teachers are doing, and even car dealerships, and
it's good for the sponsor to
Right. The sponsor gets promotional value out of it.
Sure.
Because, for example, in the book, we could we'll put a thing in the front. This book is a gift for, and the child writes their name in. And it's from ABC Company, exactly. And then there's a whole variety of ways that we can give them promotional value that's very warm and fuzzy. And corporations want and need that, and we, however, will be choosy about who qualifies, actually.
Well, it sounds like an absolutely wonderful idea.
Thank you.
Wish you absolutely the best luck.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, our time is up today.
Okay.
I hope all of our viewers have learned a bit more about stress and how destructive it can be. I would encourage anyone who is feeling particularly anxious, take a look at Mimi's website and even give her a call. Her number's on the website, to find out how you can learn these very simple techniques to help eliminate the stress from your life. We have provided the contact information at the end of this show for anyone interested in learning more. Thank you for watching, and I wish all our viewers a happy and a stress-filled, free day. Thank you, Mimi.
Thank you, Sheila.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.